There was a campaign in 2008, Senator. It was Barack Obama versus John McCain. We believe John McCain would be the right person to win, and so we spent
tax
more.
returns from that organization.
I'm glad they're for the record.
I'm going to ask to be entered into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
These tax returns are yours. They have your signature, and I'm going to ask that members of the committee review them because they're the only documents. I've asked for others. I've asked for the FBI report that...
The stage was set. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth faced grueling scrutiny from Senator Richard Blumenthal. At issue, the use of military force on American streets, financial fitness in the Pentagon, and the bounds of executive power. What followed was a stark confrontation over the soul of U.S. defense policy. Pete Hegseth, confirmed as Defense Secretary earlier in 2025 by a razor-thin Senate vote, now leads the nation's military apparatus.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having this hearing. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hegseth. And I want to join in expressing appreciation and respect for your service to our country, and thanks to all the veterans who are here today, and thank you for your service as the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee. I hope we can focus on doing better for our veterans and doing better in management of the Department of Defense. There's always room for improvement. I think what we need in that position is not just better, but the best in financial management, because those decisions are life and death decisions affecting the 3.4 million Americans who serve our national security and our national defense and put their lives on the line. I want to talk about financial mismanagement.
There was a campaign in 2008, Senator. It was Barack Obama versus John McCain. We believe John McCain would be the right person to win, and so we spent
tax
more.
returns from that organization.
I'm glad they're for the record.
I'm going to ask to be entered into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
These tax returns are yours. They have your signature, and I'm going to ask that members of the committee review them because they're the only documents. I've asked for others. I've asked for the FBI report that...
He arrived with a manifesto, refocus on lethal readiness, purge what he calls political correctness in the ranks, and enforce strict standards. But not everyone is convinced. At a recent Senate Armed Services hearing, Senator Blumenthal pinned him down on several incendiary topics. Blumenthal: we've seen active duty Marines in Los Angeles. Are there contingency plans to send troops to other U.S. cities? Hegseth's response: we have never and will not illegally deploy troops. All deployments are under existing legal authorities. The senator didn't let it slide. He pressed him to submit any such plans to Congress, insisting that using the military domestically without clear legal grounding is alarming. Blumenthal dug into Hegseth's past leadership of veterans nonprofits, accusing him of financial mismanagement and deep deficits. He urged, we can't have a Defense Department with an $850 billion budget run by someone whose track record is shaky. Hegseth defended himself, highlighting mission focus and donor support, but the critiques raised real doubts. Is leading a small nonprofit equivalent to running the Pentagon?
Would presumably document, it should have documented, this kind of financial mismanagement. And these are the 990s from that organization. By the year of 2011, donors had become so dissatisfied with that mismanagement, they in effect ousted you. They merged that organization with Military Families United, and thereafter you joined a second organization as executive director.
In between, Senator, I went to Harvard University for 2 years and Afghanistan.
I want to ask you questions about Concerned Veterans for America. Again, another set of tax returns, the 990s from that organization. I asked they be made part of the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection. Both of those returns are now part of the record.
2011 to 2016. At the end of 2013, shortfall of $130,000. At the end of 2014, shortfall of $428,000. You had a surplus the following year, but then another deficit of $437,000. By the time you left, that organization had deep debts, including credit card transaction debts of about $75,000. That isn't the kind of fiscal management we want at the Department of Defense. We can't tolerate it at the Department of Defense. That's an organization with a budget of $850 billion, not 10 or 15 million, which was the case at those two organizations. And it has command responsibility for 3.4 million Americans. The highest number that you managed in those two organizations was maybe 50 people. Let me ask you, how many men and women now serve in the United States Army? What is end strength?
Senator, I would like an opportunity to respond to
I've
the
asked you a
impugning of
question.
my leadership of a
How many men
veterans
and women
organization. Concerned
currently
Veterans for
serve?
America, you're on the VA committee, sir, and I appreciate your service there. The VA Accountability Act and the Mission Act were all brainchilds of Concerned Veterans for America. We used our donor money very intentionally and focused to create policy that bettered the lives of veterans.
Mr. Hegseth, I'm asking you a very simple question. How many men and women currently serve in the United States Army?
Senator, the United States Army, 450,000 on active duty, sir.
And how many in the Navy?
And the Navy is 425, sir.
Well, it's 337 this year. How many in the Marine Corps?
175,000, sir.
172,300. Those numbers dwarf any experience you had by many multiples. I don't believe that you can tell this committee or the people of America that you are qualified to lead them. I would support you as the spokesperson for the Pentagon. I don't dispute your communication skills, but I believe that we are entitled to the facts here. I've asked for more documents. I assume you'd be willing to submit to an expanded FBI background check that interviews your colleagues, accountants, ex-wives, former spouses, sexual assault survivors, and others, and enable them to come forward.
Senator, I'm not in charge of FBI background checks.
But you would submit to it and support it.
I'm not in charge of FBI background checks.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal.
Amid their debate, questions swirled about a signal chat leak that allegedly shared sensitive military planning, possibly including Hegseth. Critics warn that Hegseth's push to weaken oversight, including changes to Inspector General structures, could stifle accountability. Meanwhile, Hegseth's sweeping reforms of advisory boards and more aggressive posture underscore his desire to reorder the Pentagon's internal architecture. Strengths for Hegseth's position: vulnerabilities, risks, criticisms, emphasis on lethality, readiness, and bold reform appeals to those frustrated with bureaucratic stagnation. The legal and constitutional risk of deploying troops domestically as a red line in U.S. democracy brings a clear, aggressive vision on military culture and internal discipline. His past nonprofit financial record is being used to challenge his fitness for a vastly larger role, assert strong control over oversight and direction, signaling decisive leadership. The signal chat leak and rollback of internal watchdog authority raise credibility and transparency concerns. Because Hegseth is reshaping norms and structures, the conflict isn't just personal, it's institutional. Blumenthal's questioning is less about ideology and more about checks and balances. When the gavel fell, no easy verdict emerged. Hegseth stands as a polarizing reformer. Blumenthal remains a determined guardian of what he sees as democratic limits. Here's the question to you, watching this. If a defense secretary pushes boundaries of military power and oversight, is urgency or restraint the greater virtue? Tell me your stance. What side of that balance should America hold, and why?